Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Get some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James, and we believe that the relationship between a father and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Therefore, our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all our dads and their daughters. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to listen, like, subscribe, and share, and follow us on all of our social media pages at the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Also, we definitely want you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We share a channel with our partner podcast, the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. So go to YouTube, look up Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and you'll find our podcast list on that channel. So make sure that you guys are checking that out. Also, I'm going to tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast, but you got to stay into the end of the episode in order to get that information. So make sure that you guys check that out. All right. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. JP. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
No problem. First of all, let me say thank you for being on. You could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. So do us a favor, introduce yourself, and just tell us a little about yourself.
I am a 41, almost a couple weeks, single girl dad. My daughter's a month away from being 9, in a healthy co-parenting relationship with the mom. We live in a rural area, and so it's a slower life. It's an easier life. It's a slower life. My day job's in construction, so being spread out, I commute, 70, 80 miles one way sometimes back and forth to get to the job site. But being in a healthy co-parenting relationship helps with that, because there's not a lot of, everything that we do, we have figured out on our own. There's nothing has to be here at this time. She comes and goes as she pleases, but obviously, if she's grounded there, she's grounded here. If she can't
Right.
do something there, she can't do something here, and that she doesn't play us against each other. And it's it's a wild ride. I mean,
Yeah.
having a daughter's a wild ride.
Yeah, yeah. I want to get a little bit into that co-parenting. I think that's great. But let's go back a little bit. First of all, what's your daughter's name? Because I always forget
Adeline.
to ask. What's her name?
Her name is Adeline.
Adeline. Okay, okay. And you said she's 9 at this time, right?
Gonna be 9.
Gonna be 9. All right, all right. So let's go. Let's take it back a little bit. And first of all, let me ask: how did you even find out that you were going to be a dad? And then how, when you found out you was going to be a dad, did you find out that you were going to be a girl dad at that same time, or was that a surprise later?
So being being a parent to me wasn't a deal where I needed it to complete me, but if I became a parent, there were certain generational curses and these things that I didn't want to continue.
Right,
And we had found out that we were having a child, but we didn't find out what it was until she was actually born. We didn't. Nobody knew. We kept it a,
right,
you know, and so it. The idea was fun to not know and wait. And if it's a boy, we had a couple names. If it was a girl, we had a couple names. I was more, as long as it's a healthy baby that,
right,
no complications, everything works out. Healthy baby was what I really wanted. I will say that being a girl dad uh, has probably, I don't have any sons, so I can't say
right.
definitively, but I would say that it's kind of completed me.
Yeah.
It's going to be easier when there's going to be ages where it's going to be really hard. The
Yeah.
dating, the boys, and these kinds of things. But I grew up in a fairly emotionally disconnected home, and so
Hmm.
I've made it a point to be more involved and more loving and more. Um, I have a lot more patience than my parents did naturally, so it's some of these things have been easier. But she can talk to me about anything and anything that's going
Right,
on, and these different things. And so being a girl dad, my idea of success is if she grows up to be a more confident, more self-aware, more resilient, and just has a happy life
right,
all the way through, instead of having to sort of deal with major traumas. And so it's been a journey for sure, but it's kind of just been me and her. Her mother and I split up right after she turned 2, and so our the only way that she knows is just me and her, and so it's
right.
always kind of been us,
Yeah,
when she's with me, and
yeah.
so it's been a journey. I mean, she was easy though. There
Right,
wasn't the terrible twos, there wasn't the threes. She slept through the night when we brought her home and all those things, and I've tried to help shape her to not make the mistakes that I made.
right.
Especially in growing up in rural areas. It's it's I guess in cities too. I've just never really
Yeah,
lived in a big city, but
right.
it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's there's a lot of things that are out of my realm that I that I,
Mhm.
I get to experience for the first time, and I get to be a kid and get excited about, because I had a brother, and we didn't have any girls in our family, and so like a couple weeks ago it was the dance recital, and those are fun for me because I know, I have no experience
Yeah.
with them outside of her doing it, and so like,
Right,
but I'm the dad down in the front with my phone videotaping the whole
right.
thing, and learning the dance with her so that she's knows what's going on. So we'll be doing it at home. And if, when she gets in high school or later on starts cheerleading, like I'll probably end up knowing all the cheers because
Right.
I'll be doing it at home with her and all that stuff,
Right.
but it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like to be involved in it. And so, all these things are really fun.
Yeah. You know what? You got a lot of similarities, right, with me and some of the things that you mentioned. So I'm in construction too, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bricklayer by trade. And so I know that journey, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter, me and her mom split up. We were actually married and we divorced and split up when she was about maybe 7 or 8,
Mm-hmm.
around that age. But like you, it was me and her. So my daughter's my only biological child, and
Right.
so it was just us, and
Right.
like me and her mom worked different shifts, and so a lot of times, especially on the weekend, it was just me and her. So we would just, ride it out, and
Yeah.
so yeah, so all those fun things and learning, and even as you mentioned about um, you know, your daughter kind of this is why I explain it, right? I say our daughters as men and as girl dads, they bring out the best in us, right? And they
Mm-hmm.
kind of represent, to me anyway, the best qualities that I have, right? So she's like a reflection of the best parts of me, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, not wanting to pass on any negative traits or anything like that, but definitely, I think automatically for the most part, they come with like the best parts of us. You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean? And so,
Yeah.
we get the benefit of all we gotta do is not mess it up, right?
Right. Right. And it's, it, like you had said earlier, we all know the women and have been around women and that were raised with no father or
Mhm.
just by a mother. And I don't it's easy for me to be involved, but at the same time, like knowing that, I don't think I could allow my daughter to grow up in an environment like that and then have all of those holes and traumas and uh, personality,
Yeah,
not feeling good enough or not being
right.
worthy, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. Because it's a long journey to try to get to a place where you feel worthy
Yeah, it
for
is.
anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a journey, and it takes a lot of pouring into our daughters. Um, definitely that's why I started this podcast and doing the things that I do, because I, not just for my daughter, but like everyone on the podcast heard me say it before, but my whole journey started when I realized that every woman I ever dated was a fatherless daughter.
Hmm.
And so that kind of started my journey, down this road. And so it's not just for my daughter, but it's for daughters of generations to come, and that's why I really love when I started this podcast and being able to talk to other girl dads, because it's like, hey, we're here, we're out here,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? And there are some dads that are out here loving on their daughters and pouring into the lives of their daughters and making sure that they are a part of their daughters. And like
Hmm.
you, myself, I well, my daughter now it's going to be 21, so we're a little further down that road. But
Right.
for years, we had the co-parenting situation, and my daughter even lived in a different state from me, for the last, 5 or 6 years. So even that was a challenge. Um,
Right.
but you do what you have to do. You make the adjustments. And I remember having before FaceTime and video message and all of that came out.
Right.
I remember helping my daughter with her homework, right? While she's at her mom's and I'm here, and she would literally take a picture, like we're working on math, take a picture of the math problem and send it to me, and then we call and work it through, and so just things like that, just being involved in making it work and having a relationship to the point where, with the mom, to that we could still have that, and not have
Hmm.
the combativeness, in the
Yeah.
midst of it, because it's unfortunate that sometimes, it's not always the dad's fault that
Right.
they are fatherless daughters, There
Right.
are some
Right.
that definitely want to be, be more active, but they're not necessarily given the chance to be. So I just wanted to acknowledge that because that's
Hmm.
the truth, unfortunately.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've since my daughter was born, it changed my certain switches in my brain. Priorities, things that were important beforehand, lost importance compared to being around, being available, and all of that stuff. And then it started sort of the personal development journey and the creating your reality, being thankful more than you know more optimism than pessimist, and that kind of stuff. But you know I've gotten in the habit the last few years of reminding myself, I don't have a high conflict relationship with her mom. We
Mhm.
do barbecues and sit by each other at the school functions and all that stuff. And it it makes it easier. Me, her partner, they have a blended family environment that at their house, but nobody makes it weird. It's not abnormal. It's no big deal to all do holidays and barbecues and meet them up at the lake, and this and that. And it's easy to look at the negative things, or but there's I acknowledge that there's a lot of you know I get to have my daughter on the weekends, and I
Yeah,
get to see her at any time I want to, and I get to help her with her homework, and I get to teach her how to play soccer. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that wish that they could, and they don't have
yeah,
that choice to spend that time with their kids, whether it's a boy or a girl, or multiple children. And so I but it's far as it's a mindset thing, but it's farther reaching than that. Like, I get to go to work. You know what I mean?
right.
I'm
Yeah,
healthy
yeah,
enough to where I can physically go to work, and I get
right.
to. I'm in a position. I'm older. I didn't have my daughter until I was in my 30s, and so I'm in a position where I get to go to the school functions, and I get to take the
Yeah,
bulk of the day and go to the Christmas uh the winter program at their school, where they all sing and do those things. And you know, it's getting out of that, you know, oh, I gotta miss work to go to that, or I have
mhm,
to, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to, you get to. There's a lot of people that
right,
they don't have a boss, or, are in a position where they can take a day off of work to go to a Christmas concert at a school, or, those kinds of things. So it's being thankful is a big part of it, but also being present, in the moment when she's around. We're watching, we don't watch a lot of TV, but some of the streaming deals. So if she wants to watch a kids movie, like, I watch the kids movie with her. You know what I mean?
mhm,
I'm not on my phone while she's watching TV,
right.
or or
Yeah,
and it's the little things, it's the little things that I think that she'll remember the most. When I wash my pickup and clean it out and do all that stuff, like, she likes to help. And so I do it when I have her, because she likes doing it with me, because we're
right,
spending time and taking care of something, or you know, it, I think it gets easy to sort of get lost in the routine of just, yeah, you have your kids, but are you being present, and are you spending time and teaching them life lessons, and are you open? Do you have open communication to where they can feel comfortable talking to you about anything? Because
right,
even if it's a topic I'm not going to want to talk about, like, I want to know that she'll come to me. You know what I mean?
right.
Even if she's 25, 30 years old and is in a bad home situation, or has a
Yeah,
friend that's in a bad situation, like, I want to keep that open communication to where she doesn't feel like she's going to be judged or looked down upon. Obviously, if she makes bad choices, then yeah,
yeah,
the dad voice is going to come out, and
right,
and I'm going to be disappointed. You know what I mean? I
right.
mean, yeah,
Yeah,
she's got me wrapped around her finger, but it's a pretty loose knot. You
right.
know?
Yeah, you hit on a couple of things. Um, that you mentioned a couple of things that I just want to hit on real quick. First of all, a lot of it, like you said, is mindset. You
Hmm.
know, just having a positive mindset and being able to look at the glass half full than half empty in every
Hmm.
situation. You know, that makes it better because we get to have our daughters. We get to spend time with them. And then as they get older, like my daughter is 21, so it's not only do I get to spend time with her, but she actually wants to spend time with me,
Right.
so that's a whole
Yeah.
nother aspect. Like the things you do now, while you're, like you said, while your daughter is young, and the things that she's going to remember is going to definitely make an impact as she gets older. Do I want
Hmm.
to be around my dad? Do I
Right.
want to spend time with him washing the truck as an adult? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those things come back. As you get older, and one of the things I wanted to also mention that, like you said, with her mom, with you guys being able to get together and spend that time together. I'm glad that you said that. That's my not with my daughter's mom, but I've been married twice.
Hmm.
So my second marriage, my wife has four sons. And so my daughter's my only biological son, and then I have four sons, stepsons, if you will,
Hmm.
from her. And even after we divorced, we're still cool, to the point that we still do things with the family and as a whole,
Right.
as a
Right.
unit with my daughter and all of us. We still hang out together, and most people, if they don't know that we're divorced, they
Right.
wouldn't know we're divorced by because how well we get along, even though we're divorced. And so that's always good to hear that, again, going back to mindset, that you both could be mature enough to have those conversations and even be in the same space,
Right.
especially when you do have, like me and my ex-wife, like I said, we don't have a child together, but
Right.
we still we're a blended family for a little over 10 years. So,
Right.
we're
Right.
invested, what I mean?
Right.
We're invested, and so
Yeah.
even after the divorce, it's like, hey, we still cool. We still both, when something's going on with the boys or something's going on with my daughter, we still have those conversations, like, because the family unit is still, us being parents of these five kids, and so I love to hear that, I'm not the only one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I mean, you know, to me, it always seems like a no brainer. I wasn't raised in a blended household. My parents were married my entire life,
Yeah.
and but my daughter's mom, she was the child of a blended family. So her parents have been married her entire life, but she has a half sister, half brother that are both older, and then had to watch her mom and dad
Mhm.
deal with the other bio parent
Right.
from the older ones. And I mean, in this day and age, 40% of the I think 40% of the people that are single in the United States have a kid.
Yeah.
So that's half. One out of every
Right.
two people you meet that it's out or meet out at the lake, or anybody that you're a potential dating partner is going to have a kid, which means that they're
Yeah.
going to have a co-parenting relationship, and maybe other parents in the picture, maybe it's not. But like, your situation, just because you guys got divorced doesn't mean all of a sudden, like, oh, you were never a part of their lives because
Right.
you don't share the same DNA or anything like
Right.
that. But, you know, to me, it's a no-brainer to put the kids first.
Yeah.
Like, settle all it wasn't easy to get to the place that I'm at with my ex, but
Mhm.
we both put our daughter first, and losing the baggage and dealing with the trauma and grieving the relationship, it just didn't work out. Made it easier to move forward and put our daughter first, and so, because she didn't ask to be born, we chose to
Right.
have her, you know what I mean? So us fighting all the time, or I probably the only thing that compare is comparable or possibly even worse than a daughter being raised with no dad is being stuck between two parents that are using you as a spy
Yeah.
and using you to say what's going on at the other house to so that that parent can, you know, use that against them
Right.
to control them, or, you know, the issues that they, you know, the downstream issues when they become 25 years old, that's what a normal relationship is like. I just can't imagine that they're going to be a great person. You know what I mean? They're not going to be a trusting person. They're not going to
Yeah.
think that they should be upfront and honest with people. And it just seems like, you know, putting your kids first is just a no-brainer, you know.
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that, because that's one thing that I think is one of the biggest help helps, should I say, I put it that way, you know, in a ended relationship, a broken relationship, whether it's marriage or just relationship, when you have
Mm-hmm.
kids, it's like, okay, put the kid first, you know. And I even talk when I talk with fathers who have been absent for a while,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then they're, you know, reconnecting with their kid. And I'm like, hey, just remember, put the kid first. You know, this is not your time to, you know, tell your side of the story and, you know, say, well,
Right.
what your mom said was wrong or whatever. That's not the time. This is not the time for that. This is the time to build a bond with your child, you know, and really be present, like you said earlier, in the middle of it. Like, be there. You're there
Yep.
now, so be there. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And don't,
And
you know, forget about the past crap, because there's ain't
right.
nothing you can do
Right.
about it.
Right. And don't worry about who's right and who's wrong and trying to prove to your kid that it's not your fault or this happened or they did this or they did that. Like, you know, my mom had actually said something to me and she was like, well, doesn't it bug you that, you know, maybe her or her family or something says stuff when she's around about you, da 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 da. And I'm like, I can't control what they do. I can only control what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not stupid. Kids aren't dumb. It'll come out in the wash. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
I'm present all the
Yep.
time and I'm there for her and she can talk to me about anything, like she'll realize that whether if it's true or not, you know, like
Right.
but I can't stop them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
worrying about it, but you know, to be a I find it much easier. There are certain things, you know, baggage or trauma and things from my childhood that I've carried into being a parent. And now I started later in life,
Yeah.
which, you know, good, bad, indifferent, it has worked out for me. You know, financially, I was a little bit more set, already had a career. I wasn't trying to be still mature as a person. I mean, not that I've had it all figured out by any means, but
Mhm.
I wasn't still in an adolescent, teenage mind set, having a baby and trying to raise a child in my 20s.
Right.
And it made it easier to put them first. But, you know, some of the things that, you know, I've been very protective of letting my daughter be a child and playing pretend. You don't need to be a 16-year-old, 6-year-old. You know what I
Right.
mean? It so I've always been very protective of letting her, you know, if you want to have imaginary friends or blanket forts or do, you know, play pretend. Like I'll play with you and it's fun.
Right.
Because I wasn't allowed that option. You know what I mean? We were not, you know, pretty poor growing up. Parents were always stressed. My parents were young when they had us, and we didn't get to have the as much of a childhood as I've been protective over my daughter, allowing her to have. You know, you have 60 years after you get out of high school of being an adult. Like there's no
Right.
reason to be an adult when you're 10 years old.
Right.
And you know, being present and showing up, you know, and there were things that my parents did well. I mean, I'm not trying to say that it was a bad household or anything.
Mhm.
You know, everybody's doing the best they can with the tools that they have.
Right.
And you know, over the last 8-9 years, I've tried to really stock my toolbox with as much stuff as I could possibly fit in it. To certain situations are going to come up, and the level-headed I can be, and the calmer that I can be, and less judgmental helps. Being in a place of peace when my daughter's here, you know what I mean? I'm not stressed out all the time. I'm not focused on all these things that I can't control and can't do anything about. I'm with her and I'm present, and it's
Right.
dancing in the kitchen and poking fun at each other. I tell my daughter she's weird like probably 3 times a day but I don't want to, I don't want all these stigmas. You know what I mean? There's going to
Right.
be names thrown around, and it's okay to be weird. You don't have to fit into the mold of everybody else that's around here. If you're different, then good for you, as
Right.
long as you're happy.
Yeah. 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 So I wanna switch it up a little bit before we go into the next segment. Um, I know one of the things you mentioned about your daughter having a recital, or looking
Mhm.
forward to the recitals. So one of the things that I talk about on the podcast, which is my one of my regrets that I have, is when my daughter was probably 6 or 7, she had a daddy daughter dance,
Mhm.
and I had to work, and so I said, well, I'll go to work and I'll miss this one, but I'll catch the next one. Again, my daughter's going to be 21 soon. There never was a next one,
Right.
so I missed that one, and that's one of my regrets that I have as a father. So I know you're still younger. Your daughter is
Mhm.
younger, but just a word of advice or something to the other fathers that may be listening. Is there something that you regret, or something that you think about even now, like, you know what, I could have did this better? So my reason why I say that, because that's something I don't think it bothers her. Like I
Mhm.
said, she's 21 and she's like so past it, but it still bothers me that I
Right.
missed that moment. And so one of the things I bring that up, because I'm like, hey guys, make sure you take those moments, because you never
Right.
know if you're going to get it back. And so in your raising your daughter so far, is
Mhm.
there something that you would just be like, you know what, hey, I did this, I could have did this better? So guys, if you're, some example of something.
I would say, for the most part, I don't live in regret, and I would, up until recently, I think I probably like sheltered my daughter more than I should have, out of just being in new territory. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but eh, she has very rarely met anybody that I'm dating. You know what I mean? And one of the deals that me and her mom had set up very early on was, if I start dating somebody and get serious, she starts dating somebody, gets serious, we get to meet them before they're around our daughter, just out of, so they can get a feel for them. Da 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 da. And so even so, I would talk about people that I know and people that I'm around, but like she would never really meet them. And so for a while, it almost seemed like she didn't believe that I actually was around people. And then it almost got to a deal to where she would kind of inadvertently, I would just get the feeling that she thought I was lonely because,
Mm.
I'm not constantly around people. When
Right.
I have her, and we do our thing. And so that would probably be one thing. Like, I want her to be a little more extroverted if she is, and not
Mm.
be introverted like I am, if that's not her natural state. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I've been trying to let her see and understand that there's a big difference between being alone and being lonely. But
Right.
I got the feeling a few times that she just didn't believe that the person even existed.
Right.
And so, like, you know, and so I think I've as a regret thing, I think sort of not allowing her to experience what I'm experiencing as much.
Mhm.
And hopefully that's not a deal that sort of follows her along or anything like that.
Right.
Not that I was necessarily hiding anybody, but if 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 I don't think you're going to be in it for the long haul, or if I'm trying to get to know you and stuff, I'm not going to bring a bunch of people around my daughter, because if it turns out that you're not the influence would that I am, or I expect somebody to be with me to be, for my daughter, then I would rather know before you meet her and start influencing. You know,
Right.
I don't
Right.
want to. I'm very hesitant to accidentally introduce a toxic personality or a deceptive personality into my daughter's life. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Okay, all right, all right. So we're gonna switch it up real quick and get to our next segment, which is called "Getting to the Core" segment. So I wrote an ebook called "The Core Four," which is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father. And
Mhm.
to my audience, you guys can find that at ebooksbyejames.com. That's ebooksbyejames.com. And that's the core four, which is the core four values that every daughter should get from her father. And so those four values are guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection. And so just out of those four, in your own uh, mind of raising your daughter, which one of those would probably be the most important to you that she has?
I would say for me, it'd probably be guidance, because I think all of them, if if you're aware enough, all of them can sort of go into the guidance. You know,
Mhm.
the you know, if you can guide them and help them become confident, ultimately it's going to protect them from bad people, bad situations, and helping them become aware of people's true intentions, and it's going to be the guidance is probably the big one for me. There's a certain anxieties or fears that I have that she is not old enough to experience quite yet.
Mhm.
But the mean girl high school bullying, middle
Right,
school, I mean, that time is sometimes really rough for some girls, and sometimes it's not that big a deal. But I don't want, I've been trying to guide her to just be who she is, and you don't have to be friends with these people if they don't treat you well. If
right,
they, you got this friend who's a family friend, her, friend of all of ours, kid that's the same age as you. You guys are best friends when nobody's around, but then she treats you like shit when other kids are around. Like, you
right,
don't have to be her friend because the parents are friends. You don't, be nice and be polite and that kind of stuff when everybody's together, but you don't have to go over there and hang out if you don't
right,
want to. Like, there's nobody forcing you to do that. And but also guiding to I don't want her to inadvertently become the mean girl or the
right.
bully, you know what I mean, or the
Yeah,
judgmental kid, girl or anything like that. So that's probably my big one.
yeah. All right, all right. So, it's called the core four, which is the core four values. But if there could be a fifth value that you can add, what would that be?
Resilience, probably. The the way that the world is, or the societal norm or culture, especially here in the States,
Mhm.
the instant gratification and YouTube millionaire, video game millionaire, influencer, Instagram, YouTube, all these things
Yeah,
has created a culture that, you know, it even goes down as basic as, when we were kids, if strawberries weren't in season, you were waiting. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
There was no Amazon shopping. There was no
Right.
2-day delivery. You couldn't go to the store and buy anything that you could think of, fruit, vegetables, that kind of stuff, if they were out of season. And now you can. And so the instant gratification is making people really quick to give up. Or instead of, you hit a block on whatever your goal you're chasing, instead of pivoting and continuing, a lot of people just give up,
Yeah.
quit. Never mind, I'm on to the next thing. You know what I mean? My daughter has gotten into finger knitting, and she enjoys it. So then, when Christmas comes, I'll get her regular knitting stuff, and then get her into 4-H, and she can learn how to sew and knit and do these things because she's interested in it.
Mhm.
And it's some of these things I have known nothing about, but she's resilient. I've tried to get her resilient to where even if when to understand that nothing comes easy.
Yeah.
You're not going to start a YouTube channel and then all of a sudden never have to work again in your life because all you got to do is play with toys or open up packages on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, set
Yeah.
goals and I will help you, but you know, take the
Yeah.
constructive criticism. If you hit a roadblock or if it's, knitting's not your thing, but maybe sewing is, then make that pivot. Don't just scrap it all and move on to something else without having the resilience to keep going. Because the successful people are the resilient ones who continue. You know, first you got to start, and then you
Right.
just got to not quit. Because if you start, you're ahead of half the people that are thinking about it. And
Right.
if you don't quit, it'll dwindle out the other 98% of people, because as soon as they hit a roadblock or something that they don't agree with or any sort of difficulty, if it's not easy and breezy and instant fame, instant gratification, then a lot of people give up. And that, so to be successful in, you know, my idea of being successful is her being a better person than me, but I also have already got a career and I'm doing okay.
Right.
And so, but this is 20 years down the road. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I've hit obstacles. The housing market
Right.
crashed in 08 and I was bartending because there was no building going on and
Yep.
all these different things, but as soon as the building started picking back up, I started going again because everybody else that had lost everything or wasn't able to build, it sort of gave up or had to, sometimes you got to move somewhere else where you can succeed or,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
So that's definitely big, especially in this time frame that we in with the culture. Because even my daughter, like I said, she's finna be 21 now. But I
mhm,
remember a couple years ago when she graduated from high school. Now she's always been a honor roll student, straight A student, all that good stuff. But when she graduated high school, it probably was maybe a couple months after she graduated, and I'm talking to her and she like, feeling down. And I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, well, I don't have a job. I don't have a car. I don't have this. I don't have that. And I'm like, hold on. Like, you just graduated,
right.
but it's the same, like you said, you're looking at social media and then there's people portraying, like they
Hmm.
have this and they've done this or whatever. And I'm like, look, there's no rush, like you
Right.
just graduated high school. You've done good this far. You never gave us any trouble. Like I said, honor roll student, just relax, take your time, you'll get there. You
Right.
don't have to
Right.
have it right now. You'll get there. You
Right.
keep working at it. So yeah,
Well,
so that's
yeah,
very big.
it's with the social media and with all of these things, you're not going to get out of high school and within 6 months, a year, live in a house that's like mine,
Right.
drive a pickup like mine, have the bank account with numbers like mine. I mean, these things take time,
Yeah.
and I've had these things and I've lost them all, and I've got them all back. Not the exact same places and
Right, right.
rigs or anything like that, but but I'm with you in the fact that, if she handles her business when she's in high school, I have no issue helping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I will help you get a rig. I will help you. I understand the way that the world is now, and in 10 more years, it's gonna be worse. And so, like, to if you're moving from one place to another, I mean, you basically got to have $4,000 that you don't need to move in.
Yeah.
And unless you theoretically, I mean, maybe in certain areas, but for the most of the country, or at least the couple spots in the country that I've lived in, you're probably not going to buy a house until you're 40, because you're going to have to save up $60,000 for the down payment, unless you take care. I've done certain things to help set her up, to already be building her credit. So when she gets out of high school and turns 18, she will have a credit score and payment history and these things. And so, some of these things that it would have been easier for me if my parents would have had the same tools and information to roll into, instead of starting from scratch when you're 18 years old. But, I understand that, you might be able to have a summer job, but if she does sports, I mean, there's only so much time in the day.
Right.
If you go to school all day and then you're playing, and then you got a couple sports, I mean, there's not a lot of places that'll let you work for 3 months, take the basketball season off, and then come back to work. You know what I mean? Unless it's somebody that your parents know or something like that. And so, but it's the instant gratification. It's the Instagram sort of presentation of a unreal life and unreal scenarios. Nobody's got a 4-bedroom house that they own when they're 22 years old with a brand new Audi in the driveway, and they're working at a clothing store part-time 20 hours a week. Like, that's not real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, JP, I definitely enjoy having you on, man. I want you to have the last word. Leave our fathers or daughters with a word of inspiration or a joke or however you feel. I want you to do that. And also, if you have social media and you want someone, guys to follow you or whatever, you could give that too. So I'll let you think about that for a second. To my listeners, make sure that you guys are checking us out. Check us out at our websites, the dealhealfulfill.org. Dealhealfulfill.org is our main website, where there's more stuff about me and as the organization, because as you guys know, I'm a speaker, I'm a podcaster, I'm a mentor, all of those great things. So as far as like having me to come in as a speaker or to take part of one of my workshops or something like that, just go to dealhealfulfill.org and you'll be able to get more information about that. Also, check us out at ebooksbyejames.com. We talked about the core four values that every daughter should receive from her father. That ebook is available at ebooksbyejames.com, as well as From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring book for young teenage boys. That's also there, as well as some other things. So make sure you guys check that out, ebooksbyejames.com. And also check out our inspirational shirt line, our inspirational t-shirt line at Deal to Heal Tees. That's Deal, the number 2, healtees.com. You guys go there and check that out. And also make sure you guys are subscribed to our text line. You can text the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730 to receive text messages about new episodes, ebooks releases, and also event information. That's text line, text the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730. Also, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year talking about forgiveness, right? Talking about forgiveness. Who is it for? Forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, even forgiveness of the world. We have those conversations just talking about forgiveness because we believe that is very important. So again, make sure you guys check that out. You can go to forgivenessmission.com, or you can go to Eventbrite to register. Whenever you're listening to this, that means either a workshop is coming up or one just passed, and the workshops are free. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. And last but not least, I told you guys that I was going to tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. You can win $100 from the podcast by entering our super subscriber contest. What does that mean? You must first subscribe to our YouTube page, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. After you've done those three things, text the word WIN, WIN, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. The contest is ongoing and it's random, which means that anytime I can pull a name and you could be our next $100 winner. Also, when you guys text the word WIN to the number 866-326-0730, make sure to include your name and phone number and your email address so we can reach out to you and let you know if you are our next winner. I have a lot of people text WIN and then we don't know who you are because they don't give their name or any information. So make sure you definitely give us your contact information when you text the word WIN to 866-326-0730. So JP, first of all, again, let me say thank you for being on. Thank you for taking out the time to enlighten us with your story. And also thank you for the work, not the work that you do. Well, I guess you could say work as being a girl dad, And so I want you to have the last word. So the floor is yours.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun. And my biggest piece of advice, whether it's, girl dad, boy dad, multiple kids, doesn't really matter. Slow it down. You're not going to slow it down, be present, be in the moment. You know what I mean? Like even when you had said that she had moved away to another state, and obviously you weren't seeing her as much and this and that, and, but you were still able to talk to her. And some guys don't have that option for extended amounts of time, whether it's a messy divorce or separation, a toxic bio mom, anything like that. But when you get that time back, you're not going to instantly slingshot to where you were, and if you slow it down and build the relationship and be present, and especially when they're young, if you can be present and be involved, then when it comes later in life and they may not need you as much, they're going to want you to be involved, and you don't have to force a relationship later on. I think it'll be a lot easier, at least, to build a strong foundation and then have a relationship for the rest of their lives. And even if you don't have that option, or that option gets taken away, you can't go 0 to 100 all the time.
Right.
If you slow it down and just take it step by step and day by day and conversation by conversation, it's going to mean a lot more than, trips or lavish things, and even, you miss that dance, but, you don't miss the one when she gets married. And then, that regret will probably evaporate, or, at somebody else's wedding, there's nothing stopping you from dancing with her anywhere,
One of the things that I'm already been planning on with this podcast is to have a daddy daughter dance for dads and daughters for all ages annually. And so definitely with the first one,
I'll
make sure I get that dance.
Oh, for
So
sure.
JP, again, thank you so very much for being on, man. I really appreciate you. To my listeners, thank you guys for tuning in once again to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where we feel that the relationship between father and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young lady's life. And so that's what we do. We are fathers and we are showing up and we are here and we're out here, loving on our daughters and definitely having the conversations to prove it. So until next time, you guys be blessed and we'll see you soon. All right. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else that the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed.